Hello, my name is Enjoli Pino. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm a pastor's wife. I'm a mother to two beautiful children and a dog mom to Lexi. And this is my third episode. If you have not seen the previous episodes, I invite you to YouTube at Clarity Coaching _. We've been talking about anxiety. Today's the third episode, and we're going to be using Moses as an example. So let's get started. Let me take you into that very moment. So Moses is standing in the wilderness. There's no crowd, no platform, no confidence, just a man who once had a purpose, but now is feeling hidden and unsure. And suddenly a bush catches fire, but it doesn't burn. And God calls his name, Moses. Moses. And God tells Moses, you're going to go back to Egypt. You're going to stand before Pharaoh and you're going to lead my people out. And Moses responds, who am I? That question isn't just humility. Psychologically, this is identity-based anxiety. It's the kind of anxiety that says, I'm not enough, I'm not capable, I don't have what it takes. It's not just fear of the assignment. It's fear of yourself inside the assignment. Moses continues, what if they don't believe me? What if they don't listen? How about if I'm not good enough? I'm not a good speaker. Now we're seeing something deeper. This is what psychology calls catastrophic thinking. The brain starts predicting worst case scenarios. I'm going to fail. I'm going to be rejected. I'm going to be exposed. And the more the mind rehearses these fears, the more real they feel. Now there's a desire to avoid, because Moses says, please send someone else. And this is important because this is not rebellion. This is what psychology calls avoidance behavior. When something feels overwhelming, the brain tries to protect you by saying, don't go, don't try, stay safe. Avoidance gives temporary relief, but it keeps you stuck long term. Now watch how God responds. God doesn't shame Moses. God doesn't say, why are you afraid? Instead, God reassures him, I will be with you. Then God gives him signs as well. And God gives him support through Aaron. Now here's some insight, because this is very powerful. Because when anxiety is high, the brain is in a threat state. When the brain feels threatened, logic doesn't land. What helps first is reassurance, safety, and support. And God meets Moses in a way that calms his fear before expecting action. Now Moses feels better. Moses eventually says, I don't understand all this, but I'll go. Now he's leading thousands of people, and the stress is constant. There's constant complaints, constant pressure, a lot of responsibility, and at one point Moses breaks and says, I can't carry this alone. This is emotional overload at this point. When your responsibility exceeds your emotional capacity, this is where burnout begins. There's mental exhaustion, irritability, feeling overwhelmed, wanting to shut down. And many people listening right now live in this space. But here comes a turning point for Moses. Moses was told, you don't have to do everything. You need help. So Moses begins to delegate responsibility. Delegation is not weakness. It's a protective factor against burnout. When you share the weight, your nervous system stabilizes. You think clearer, you lead better, and you could breathe again. And Moses started to feel anxious and doubtful and overwhelmed, but over time, something changed. Not because the pressure disappeared, but because he learned something different. He understood he wasn't alone and he didn't have to carry everything. And his fear didn't disqualify him. So here's a word for you today if you're listening and your mind sounds like that of Moses. Who am I? What if I fail? I can't do this. Let me tell you something. That voice doesn't mean you're incapable. It means you're stepping into something bigger than your comfort zone. So let me finish with this. Anxiety doesn't mean you're not called. Sometimes it means your mind is adjusting to a new level of responsibility. And just like Moses, you don't have to have it all together to move forward. God didn't wait for Moses to feel confident. He walked with him while he was anxious. And that's where healing begins, not when fear disappears, but when you move forward with support, because real growth happens where spirit meets soul. So there's a call here to action. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who's been doubting themselves, carrying too much, or feeling overwhelmed by what God is asking them to do. And if spirit and soul is encouraging you, make sure you follow. leave a review, and come back next week as we keep having honest conversations about faith, anxiety, and emotional healing. Let me say a prayer for you before we leave. God, thank you for meeting us in the middle of our fear, our doubt, and our overwhelm. Thank you that you don't disqualify us, Lord, even when we feel uncertain or emotionally stretched. You do not shame us. You stay with us. For the person listening right now who feels like Moses, afraid, inadequate, and burdened by the weight of what's in front of them, I pray that you would bring peace to their mind and calm to their body. Quiet the racing thoughts, silence the fear of failure, break the lie that they're not enough, and remind them that your presence goes with them. Remind them that they do not have to carry everything by themselves and that they're not alone. Remind them that there is support in their weakness, and rest is not failure, Lord. Give them wisdom where they feel confused, courage where they feel hesitant, and strength where they feel tired. Lord, help them. We trust that you will heal our minds when we're overwhelmed, and that you are faithful, and that you are steady, and that you are near. In Jesus' name, I hope you have a blessed day.